Hi, you're listening to Season 4 of the Baby Manual podcast, the podcast that helps new parents all over the world navigate the everyday challenges that arise when you have a young baby. This season will help you decide which pregnancy, baby, and toddler items you actually need, and which ones are a waste of time and money. I'm pulling on the knowledge of hundreds of thousands of new parents around the world, other pediatricians, doctor moms, the Academy of Pediatrics, breaking pediatrics news sites, all to give you the best information and recommendations that I can, because I know how overwhelming it can be. I'm your host, a pediatrician, a mom, and an author, Dr. Carole Keim. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Baby Manual podcast. I am so excited about this one. We're going to talk about what to bring when you're out and about. I'm going to talk about what you should put in a diaper bag and have in the car just to have on a daily basis. And then also when you're traveling. And traveling is something I'm really passionate about. And it's really great to find things that work well and are small and compact to travel with. So let's get started. First off, the hospital go bag. If you want to know what to bring with you to the hospital, check out the 4th episode of this season, episode 404. And I talk all about what to pack in the hospital go bag so that you're ready to go. And you should probably have that packed at least a month before your due date, just in case you go into labor early. And then you'll just have it ready to grab and go. And you'll have all the stuff that you need in the hospital and before you go home. Now, the one thing you absolutely have to have before your baby is born so that you can take them home from the hospital is a car seat. So there are a lot of different options for car seats, and there are infant car seats, and then there are kind of grow as you go car seats. Now, I recommend an infant car seat when they're first born rather than one of those that grows with them, just because those tend to be a lot lighter, easier to carry around, and they don't outgrow it for a while. So it's a good idea to have an infant one or even one that has a newborn insert that comes with it, because those are best for the little babies when they're very first born. And you'll want a base for that car seat that it can clip into in the car. A lot of car seats will have something that you install the base and that stays in the car, and then the car seat snaps right into it. My absolute favorite car seat for newborns is the Doona, and it is a little more pricey than others, but it's a car seat that turns into a stroller. It's like a convertible one where the wheels just pop out of the bottom of it. And that will definitely save your back as a new parent because you have a lot of appointments to take your baby to and, checkups and things. So you'll need something that's really easy to get in and out of the car. And if you're not going to have a Doona, then you probably want a stroller that goes with the car seat so that you can just pop that car seat into the stroller and take the baby in with you. If you have to unbuckle your baby to put them into a separate stroller, a lot of times that will wake them up, and that can just be a little bit more difficult. And I found that over time, things that were more difficult just made me not want to do them anymore. So having something that's really convenient and easy to use is great. So if you're getting a car seat, make sure you get the stroller that goes with it. Or if you have the Doona, it's an all-in-one, and that goes up to 36 pounds. And so it typically lasts for a while. I'll put some links in the show notes for the ones that I like the best. Also for the car, you need a mirror to see your baby. And they make these mirrors that go on the headrest of the seat so that it faces the baby, and you can just glance in your rearview mirror and you can see your baby's face. So you know if they're awake, if they're sleeping, and make sure that they're okay. Remember that car seats are not designed to be safe sleep spaces. They are safe, but they're not meant to be used for hours on end. So typically, most car seats allow for at least 20 to 60 minutes of baby being in there. But a mirror is really helpful because you can just check and make sure your baby's okay if they are quiet and see if they're sleeping. A seat protector is nice once your baby starts walking because their shoes get dirty and the feet are on the back of that seat. And so I found with my first, I didn't have that, and our car seats got pretty bad. And I thought, oh man, I really wish I had something to protect this seat. I didn't even think about it until it was too late. And so having something on the seat itself is really nice because that can then just keep that seat protected for when their shoes are wet or muddy and then they get in the car and they're putting their feet on the seat. Things you don't necessarily need. So those all-in-one car seats, the Grow As You Go, I really like the Graco Forever Extend to Fit. I'll put a link for that one. It's nice because it can turn from an infant car seat to a child car seat, and then it can go forward facing, and then it can break down and become a booster seat. But you don't necessarily need that because I'd say a lot of times, so your infant car seat is meant for the first year, sometimes more of their life. And babies need to be rear facing until they're at least 2 years old in the US. That is the safest position for them because if you hit the brakes, then their head is cushioned by the seat and it just kind of goes into their car seat. Once they're forward facing, if you step on the brakes too quickly, they can get whiplash. Their head will go forward and back. And that can be very dangerous in babies and even in toddlers because their heads are so heavy and their necks are relatively weak. Those all-in-one car seats, while they are nice, you can find the next level of car seat, usually for a lot cheaper, and those can typically be rear or forward facing and go up to much higher weights. And then the booster seat, when they get to booster seat age, those are very cheap to buy. So what I ended up doing with mine is I had the Duna initially, I had the Graco next, and then ended up just going to a plain old booster seat. And I realized I never used that any features of that Graco Forever Extend to Fit other than just rear facing and then forward facing as a regular child car seat. So looking back, I wish I had just gotten a regular car seat for that middle period of time. They make these screens that can, so sort of an electronic version of a mirror where there's a camera that faces your baby and then it has a view screen that's in the front of your car that you can look at. And I don't necessarily recommend those. I think the mirror is nice because you can just quickly glance at your baby. I feel like with those screen ones that it could be a little bit more of a hazard while you're driving. You're more likely to get distracted by it. And so I feel like it's less safe. So I typically don't recommend those. You also don't need a screen for your child to watch. They make all kinds of things that you can put on the seat and, basically like a tablet that goes there that the child can watch videos on. Babies don't need the extra screen time. There's plenty to look at outside of the car. So they don't really need anything to be entertained like that with. It's nice to have, a toy for them to hold while they're in the car, but they don't need anything electronic necessarily. So when I say a toy, I mean like a teething toy. A car seat cover, I have very mixed feelings about. So they make these covers that go over the car seat to protect the baby. They can be helpful if you get one that's like a sort of a 3-in-1, like car seat cover, nursing cover. I forgot what the other purpose of it is, like maybe a scarf for yourself. But those ones can be nice if you need a nursing cover and then also something to just stretch over the car seat if it's cold outside and you don't want them to be, if it's like windy, you don't want them to have the wind blowing on them. But generally speaking, you don't need a car seat cover and you're not going to have them covered while they're in the car. And it's nice to be able to see your child when you have them in the car seat and you're walking around with them to make sure that they're safe. So I typically don't suggest car seat covers. You don't really need any puffy jackets for your little babies. Remember that they cannot have anything puffy underneath the straps. So those blankets that they could theoretically wear while they're in a car seat or a down jacket or a puffy onesie type of jacket, those all don't allow you to tighten the straps all the way. And so those can actually be more dangerous because they're so padded that you tighten it down and it feels like it's tight. But then when you go to stop in the car, it doesn't, they still have some give to them and some motion, and your child moves too much for it to be safe. So remember, don't buckle anything puffy under the straps in the car seat. They should just be in a regular onesie. When your child is a little bit older, out of the infant stage, you can have a blanket that goes over them. And when they're very little, you can have a thin blanket that you put over them. Remember that babies under a year cannot sleep with a blanket because they will pull it over their face and they can suffocate. So you don't want to be putting blankets on little babies when they're in the car. So the bigger ones, you might want to have a soft blanket to keep in the car, but otherwise you don't necessarily need one. So things to put in a diaper bag. Of course, diapers and some wipes are going to be needed. And then some diaper cream. You can buy small tubes of diaper cream that can go into the diaper bag. So it's nice to have a travel diaper cream and then your regular one at home. My favorite 2 diaper creams are Aquaphor and Desitin, or something zinc oxide based. Something petroleum based like Aquaphor or Vaseline is nice too as a barrier. And the zinc oxide can help to heal up any skin that's broken down. And I like the regular strength of the Desitin if you're going to get that one, not the extra strength. Because I just have seen a lot of rashes with the extra strength one. I feel like it's just too much zinc oxide and becomes irritating to their skin. You should also bring some Ziploc bags or some kind of waterproof bag with you. If you have disposable diapers, a disposable bag is great because then you can just tie off the bag and throw away the diaper if it's a poopy diaper. And that will save your bag and car from smelling bad while you're out. And then if you have cloth diapers, something like a Ziploc bag or reusable waterproof bag is nice, one that you could wash, because then you can take those dirty cloth diapers back home. You should also pack baby clothes. I would say put 2 outfits for your baby in the diaper bag because sometimes they have blowouts and the poop gets everywhere. So you want something to change them into. And then also an extra shirt for mom because sometimes it gets on you as well. And also babies spit up and, sometimes you just need that extra shirt for yourself. So it can be really helpful to have that. A burp cloth is nice to have in the diaper bag for burping your baby, for spit ups. And then also, if you just need an extra thing to wipe them down with, it's nice to have that burp cloth there. They make portable changing pads. I can put a link for one of those that I really like. Those are great because then you can change your baby anywhere. You can change them on the ground or in the back of the car or on those changing stations. A lot of changing stations don't get cleaned as often as they should. And I find that I was nervous as a new mom to put my baby on that because it often looked dirty. And so it was nice to have a changing pad or just a thin muslin blanket. The muslin ones are nice because they're really thin and they fold up really small, but then they spread out really big. And that can cover that whole changing area if you need that. You want to put a pacifier in there and some baby toys or teething toys. I'd say just maybe 2 or 3 toys in there, just something to keep your baby entertained in case they get bored while you're out and about, while you're in the car or in a store, just something for them to hold on to that is clean and that they can put in their mouth. Some hand sanitizer is nice for yourself after you change those diapers. Some snacks, either for baby or for yourself or both. Once your baby's over 6 months old and they start teething and they start wanting to eat snacks, it's good to have some of those teething crackers or pouches or something that they could snack on while you guys are out and about. Sunscreen is good to have in there. And in a pinch, anything zinc oxide based also works as sunscreen. So you can use your zinc oxide diaper cream as sunscreen. And also you can use the sunscreens that have zinc oxide in them as diaper creams. So it might be nice to have one that's both of those things. I always like to keep Band-Aids in the diaper bag, especially for when children are older or for older siblings. I found that they really came in handy just to have a couple Band-Aids around. You can put a change purse in there with some money in case you need to buy something while you're out. It's nice to have a pen and some chapstick for yourself. And then a water bottle also for yourself is good to have. And if your baby is formula feeding, you can bring some formula with you. I found that 2 scoops of formula will fit into a 1-ounce bottle of those tiny Medela bottles that you can get. And so that 2 scoops will make 4 ounces of formula. And so I would keep, a couple of those in there ready to go just to pour into the bigger bottles. And then if I had my water bottle, I could fill it up with that. Or if I was at a place with a drinking fountain or with drinkable tap water, we could just fill it up with that. So that was really easy. Remember, if you're doing the formula, to also have a bottle and nipple in there. All right, so for travel stuff, now let's talk real quick about when it's safe to travel because I get this question a lot. And typically what's recommended is that your baby should have at least their first round of vaccines before traveling or before really going into any crowded spaces and being around lots of people. And so if you're traveling by plane, I'd say breastfed babies, because they're also getting immunity from the breast milk, one round of vaccines is typically okay to protect them. And so after 6 to 8 weeks of age, after their first vaccines, is when you could put them on a plane. With formula-fed babies, because they're not getting the passive immunity, then I usually suggest waiting until 6 months if you can, because that's when the primary series is completed of vaccines. So then they've had 3 doses of all their major vaccines. And also at 6 months, they can get a COVID vaccine and a flu vaccine. And so having all of those vaccines on board can be really helpful for babies who are completely formula fed so that they don't get sick. If you're traveling in a car and you're just going to see family and it's just, your parents and not very many other people, then really almost any age is okay. But remember, it is helpful to have that first round of vaccines. Everybody they visit, make sure that they're current on their Tdap vaccines, which is the tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis, because most babies who get pertussis will catch it from a family member. And pertussis is really dangerous in babies under a year of age. So you want to make sure that everybody's vaccinated. And I would also suggest that that adults that they're around or any children that they're around also have their flu and COVID vaccines, because those can also be more dangerous in young babies. And then remember that car seats are not designed for long haul sleeping. And so you'll need to plan very frequent stops while you're traveling by car. Also, if you're going up to high altitude, just check with your doctor, because a change in elevation sometimes can make your baby's oxygen go too low. And that can affect their development over time and affect their brain. So talk to your doctor before going to high altitudes and really before any traveling, just to make sure it's safe. In terms of how much you need to pack for them, I typically suggest about 1.5 outfits per day for your child, because they do, have those blowout poops or spit ups or whatever. If your baby gets changed several times a day, then you might want more than that. But I think 1.5 outfits per day is a pretty good rule of thumb. And a lot of places that you travel to will have a place where you can wash clothing if you needed to. Make sure you pack some socks for them. And I'll put a link for the socks that I like that actually stay on their feet. I found the Old Navy socks were the only ones on my little guy that would stay put, and everything else either just got pulled off or kicked off after a couple of minutes. So you want some that will actually stay on. And a sleep sack to bring with you so that they can sleep in that, because remember, no blankets until a year of age. I'll also put a link for my very favorite sleep sack. It's the Kaya Baby one. They're made with sustainable materials. It's a great company. And also it has a temperature sensor inside of it. It's like one of those, sort of like the thermometers that go on the outside of fish tanks that change color. But rather than being a gradient, it has very distinct places. So you can see if your baby is too warm or too cold or just right. So that's a really nice one. But yeah, get a sleep sack that you love and bring that with you. You'll want to bring feeding supplies for them. So when they're traveling after 6 months of age, most babies are also eating. So I suggest a silicone bowl that has a suction cup on the back of it, because you can put just about anything in there. And then, they can't like push it off of stuff or pick it up and dump it. And you can rinse those out really easily. So I'll put a link for my favorite silicone bowl as well. That's what we used when we traveled recently, and it was very helpful. And then also, if they're taking bottles, you want to bring bottles and nibbles for that. And then a bottle brush is really nice to bring with you so that you can get that bottle clean in between uses. You'll want a carrier for them as well. So the 3 main types of carriers that I would suggest are a ring sling and some sort of a clip carrier, and then a wrap carrier for when they're younger. So the wraps are only usually designed for the first year of life, and those tend to be really easy to use once you figure out how to use it and you can see your baby and just wrap them around you. Ring slings are real easy as well. They're very quick in and out. You don't have to, there's not a lot of setup like there is with the wrap. You just kind of put it over a shoulder, get it adjusted, get them tightened in there, and you're kind of sitting on your hip. The problem with the ring sling is that because they're not right in front of you, they're on one side, you can get sore on that side. And sometimes it can be awkward to switch sides if you're used to carrying them on one side all the time. So that it's sort of pros and cons of the ring sling, but it is really quick to get them in and out of that one. So that's why I really like to have that. And a clip carrier is great because it has your baby centered and you could wear it on the front or the back when they get older. And those, you just have to kind of get it adjusted to your body. And then once you have it adjusted and set up, then they're pretty easy to get on and off. Clip carriers, I've heard it described as kind of like jeans, where you have to find the brand that fits your body and is comfortable for you. So, the brand that your friend recommends is maybe not necessarily the one that's going to be the most comfortable for you. With a clip carrier, they have a clip that goes around your waist, and then the ones that go over your shoulders. It should have a clip between the shoulder blades on the back, because the ones that don't have that, they tend to spread out and it puts more pressure on your shoulders and you can get more back pain from that. So I can link a couple of ones that I like, but I would suggest if you have the option of going to like a used baby store, or if you have friends that have clip carriers that you can try on, try it out before you get one, or try a couple of different ones and then return the ones that don't fit right. And you and your partner might need 2 different clip carriers because they really are meant to fit to certain body shapes. And so you'll find one that's comfortable. I'm confident. There are so many different brands that are good, but make sure it does really have that support on your waist so that the weight goes to your midsection and not on your shoulders. And then the clip on the shoulders to, again, relieve that weight back there. You can also get carrier shirts. And those can be really nice when babies are little for some skin-to-skin time, but you don't necessarily need one. They're kind of, they work for a while, and also as your baby grows, they might get too big and the shirt might be too tight, and they're not adjustable. So I'd say you don't necessarily need carrying shirts or skin-to-skin shirts, but they can sometimes be nice. I'm a pediatrician. I'm going to push vaccines again. So travel vaccines are always important to get before you go anywhere. If you're going to a new country, you can just Google what vaccines are recommended for travel for that country. And the CDC puts out a list of everything that's suggested. And it's always the routine vaccines, and some countries have some extra ones that you should get before you go there. And I'm a big fan of vaccines because they mimic the illness without actually causing the illness. And so they only make your baby have maybe a little bit of a low-grade fever, sometimes a little discomfort, but it helps build that immune response so that if they are exposed to that disease, then they can fight it off before they actually get really sick from it. If you are doing travel vaccines, remember you want to have them finished at least 2 weeks before you travel so that your baby has enough antibodies to fight anything off. You can also bring some medicine with you, like some baby Tylenol, or Tylenol is also called acetaminophen or paracetamol outside of the US. Or you can bring some ibuprofen if they are over 6 months of age. You can do the Tylenol at any age. And then some vitamins are good to have with you. Some normal infant trivitamins, they have vitamin A, C, and D in them. And vitamin C and D are both immune boosting vitamins. And every baby should be taking vitamin D every day anyway. But the trivitamins are nice for when you're traveling because also that vitamin C is in there to help them fight off infections. And then Emergency, which I'll link as well, that's a drink packet. So it just comes in these little packets that you can bring with you when you travel. You just pour it into water and it fizzes up. Those are great for adults to have because it has vitamin C and zinc in it. And if you're breastfeeding, those extra vitamins will also go into your breast milk and help protect your baby. And once your baby's over 6 months of age, it is safe to give them a little bit of that Emergency. Double check with your doctor on the dose of it because you don't want to overdose them on vitamins. You can overdose on vitamins and it can cause things like kidney stones. So we don't want to give them too much of vitamin C especially. But typically what I would say is if your baby is between 6 and 12 months, just like a couple spoonfuls of that Emergency after you've made it for yourself, and then you drink the rest of it. Between 1 and 3 years of age, you can give them about a quarter of a packet worth. And then after 3 years of age, they can have about half a packet worth. And then once they're over age 6, you can usually do a whole packet. But again, double check with your doctor because all babies and children are different sizes and the dose might need to be adjusted. And it's all based on their weight. So your doctor should be able to help you figure out how much of the vitamins are safe to give them. Things that you don't necessarily need while you're traveling, you don't really need to bring a playpen with you. I found that all hotels that I've ever been to and most Airbnbs that I've stayed at have a playpen available for your baby to sleep in. You could bring a travel bassinet if your baby's young enough for a bassinet, if they're less than 6 months old. But after age 6 months, it's good to have a playpen to have them sleep in. And you make sure it is one that is designed for safe sleep. A high chair is something that's typically available just about everywhere. So once your baby's able to sit up and they're eating foods and sitting in a high chair, you don't need to travel with the high chair. Most restaurants have high chairs. And again, most hotels, if they have food at the hotel, they'll also have high chairs there for your baby to sit in. And then you don't need to bring too many consumable products when you're traveling. You do want to have some diapers and formula and snacks. But those are also things that you can buy while you're there, and they take up a lot of space. Now, if you wanted to leave space for souvenirs, then actually that's one easy way to do it is to bring a bunch of diapers with you because they're going to get used up, and then you'll have extra space in there. But you don't necessarily have to have all of those consumable things. Just bring at least a few with you to get through the first couple of days, and then you can always buy some more while you're traveling. And special toiletries like baby shampoo, baby toothpaste, those kind of things you can also get while you're traveling, or most hotels will have some baby products on hand. And also most hotels have toothbrushes if you forget yours or if you forget baby's toothbrush. So you can bring some toiletries, but that's also something that you can get while you're traveling. Right, so those are all of the things for out and about. I hope you guys have a great trip wherever you decide to go. And next time, we're going to talk about health and hygiene. So I'm going to talk about what sort of medications you want to have on hand when your baby's born, what sort of things are typically needed in the first couple of years of life, and then just other general hygiene stuff. All right, have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Remember, all of the links from this episode are in the show notes, and you can always go to my Linktree, which is linktr.ee/DRKEIM. If you know anybody who is pregnant or has a little baby, tell them about this show. Maybe they would like to listen to this podcast. They might find something helpful in here. And if you know any friends who are pregnant and want to get them something for their baby shower, I would definitely recommend my book, The Baby Manual. It's meant to be all-inclusive. Really, all the questions that arise in the first year of your baby's life are in that book. So Baby Manual is also linked in the show notes and on my Linktree. Have a wonderful day.